Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig, where we talk about all things firearms related, politics, culture, you name it. We're talking about it right here on Coffee with Craig. So please take a moment to like and share this program, whether you're listening to us on YouTube or Facebook, or watching us on Facebook or YouTube, or listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Apple iTunes, or Google Podcasts. Please make sure to share this program with your friends so that they can join in the conversation. By the way, just wanted to say thank you to all of those of you who are on Facebook. We have reached 300,000 followers on our Facebook page. Thank you. Please continue to spread the word. And by the way, that's also along with over 20,000 subscribers to our YouTube channel. So thank you. Once again, please remember to spread the word so that people can join in the conversation. Also, please remember to go to Apple. Please remember to go to fpcgear.com. That's fpcgear.com. It's a great place to buy T-shirts, to buy hoodies, to buy coffee mugs, all sorts of things that show outwardly your support of the Second Amendment, while also inwardly or financially supporting it, knowing that every dollar that you spend there goes right back into the fight for our right to keep and bear arms, so you can support the Second Amendment and look good doing it. That's fpcgear.com. All right, let's get into it. I know a bunch of you out there are like, I don't care about bump stocks. Craig, why are you talking about bump stocks again? And I need you to understand this is vitally important, and because I keep getting these questions from you guys about why do we care? Why not just let them have bump stocks? And I get it, because you guys want to seem reasonable. I mean, no one wants to be that unreasonable person who's like, no, I'm not willing to listen to anything. There are a lot of you out there who are willing to be reasonable. The problem is this, and it's multi-phased. The first underlying problem is just the idea of banning firearm parts or going after firearm parts. It's the camel's nose under the tent. There's one thing I learned in college. I studied logic and critical thinking. I took a class on logic and critical thinking. And one of the things that I learned in that class was that usually the slippery slope argument is not a legitimate form of logic. But 20 plus years in politics, or almost 25 years in politics, has taught me that if there's anywhere where the slippery slope argument applies, it's in politics. Because what winds up happening is people get elected based on movements, or they create organizations based on movements, based on accomplishing a thing. And once that thing is accomplished, well, now the organization has built up an infrastructure, a following, and a financial base. And it can't just go away. So their normal response is to find something else to go after. Just like, gun quote-unquote gun violence is a thing. Well, guess what? In California, every year you have new politicians, or every election cycle, you have new politicians getting elected who want to find a new way to ban guns. They want to find a new way to be anti-gun because they want to show, hey, I'm anti-gun. So they want to pass a policy, no matter how strict California policies already are. They decide they've got to do something additional. But even with that, that's still not the major issue here. It's tied to it. But what I'm talking about has a lot to do with President Trump and the bump stock ban that he's pushing. And I need you guys to understand why this is. Now, I know there's a lot of folks out there right now, a lot of you folks who are Trump supporters who are like, oh, no, you're not going after my president. I'm not trying to go after your president. I'm trying to talk about why what he is doing is dangerous. All right? And I need you to understand this. Understand, and actually, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you about this is because there was actually a great article at Truth About Guns by Luis Valdez. And there's a link in the description of this video. I want to encourage you guys to go and read that article. But I thought he made some of the points that I've been making. But I thought it was really nice the way he packaged it when he talked about it. Understanding first and foremost that there are laws in place, right? We have laws in place that define now I'm jumping around, but I got to now go back. What the president is doing is not necessarily encouraging Congress to ban bump stocks. He said he doesn't care whether or not Congress bans bump stocks. He's going to do it himself. Check it out.
We're writing that out. I'm writing that out myself. I don't care if Congress does it or not. I'm writing it out myself, okay?
Right. So he himself is going to be writing it out. Now, you would say, well, you know, gosh, he has the power of executive authority, right? Well, yeah, but does executive authority give him the right to be able to change actual law? Well, what do you mean, Craig? Well, what I mean is we actually already have law in place. We have the National Firearms Act of 1934. We have the Gun Control Act of 1968. And we have the 1986 Firearms Owner Protection Act. And each one of those, basically, those are laws relating to firearms. And by the way, in those are clearly spelled out what is a machine gun. Because what he's planning on doing is he's asking ATF to redefine a machine gun in order to make, or a bump stock, a machine gun in order to include bump stocks. So here's what, let me get back to this. So here's what the law, here's what the National Firearms Act actually defines as a machine gun. The National Firearms Act defines machine gun as any weapon which shoots, is designed to shoot, or can be readily restored to shoot automatically more than one shot without manually reloading by a single function of the trigger. That is what is the current definition of a machine gun. Now, if you understand what a bump stock is and how it works, there is absolutely positively no way that you can define under that you can include a bump stock as a machine gun. There's no way. There is absolutely positively no way you can do that. But what he's asking ATF to do is to rewrite that definition, a definition that was put in place by Congress, the legislative branch. In fact, reading that definition is why the ATF in 2010 actually authorized the sale of bump stocks, because there was a legal definition of what a machine gun was, and that did not meet the definition of what a machine gun, of what is a machine gun. Seems to make sense. But if we're going to allow the president to abuse executive authority, and that's really what it is, if he abuses the executive order in order to write law that we don't care about, well, then what if, whether this president, I'm not saying this president would do it, or the next president, someone you didn't like, President Pocahontas or Kamala Harris or any one of these other liberal, left-wing, anti-gun politicians who if given the opportunity, would ban firearms altogether, what if they were to take that exact same step? A precedent set by President Donald Trump. If he were to get away with it, what makes you think that the next president wouldn't try to get away with it? What makes you think that a governor wouldn't try to get away with it, or an attorney general? Let me tell you something. They have here in the state of California. We just won a lawsuit over Javier Becerra because he tried to just redefine a law. Just tried to redefine it. He tried to completely write law from the executive branch. For those of you who have not watched Schoolhouse Rock, let me just I'll cut to the point. The legislative branch writes law. The executive branch implements and enforces law. The executive branch does not get to write law. When something is clearly defined by a law passed in a legislative branch, by a statute, then the executive branch doesn't then get to write a regulation to override the statute. You don't get to do that. That's not your job. Now, if we're going to allow the president to do this, well, then what else could someone else do? Could they then, through an executive order, ban all semi-automatic firearms? Could they? Well, I think Mr. Valdez does an excellent job in his piece at Truth About Guns, talking about how there's historical precedent that if we allowed them to use the regulation to do this, well, then guess what? Or to do one thing, then guess what? Then they would be in a position to be able to ban all semi-automatic, anything that could potentially be bump fired. Ooh. Now all of a sudden, anything that can be bump fired, that means your semi-automatic handguns, they can be bump fired. All of your semi-automatic rifles, they can be bump fired. Once again, all of a sudden, that camel's nose under the tent is not starting to look so crazy, huh? It's not starting to look so out of touch. That's the reason why we need to push back. That's the reason why so many people who truly understand and support the Second Amendment but could give a damn about bump stocks are saying this cannot stand. Anyway, folks, once again, I get it. I get it. You guys just want, some of you out there, you just want to be reasonable. But understand this, their perspective, the anti-gunners' perspective is this. They're not interested in compromise. They're really not. They don't just want, they're not saying, I will further protect your rights here in exchange for you maybe giving up something here. That's compromise. It's not a compromise that I'm necessarily comfortable with, but at least by definition, that is compromise. But saying I am going to take away your rights, and now let's negotiate how much I'm going to take away, that, my friends, is not compromise. That is not compromise. That is surrender. And I say surrender because once you give up what you give up, it's only a matter of time before they come back for more. Only a matter of time. So, ask yourself, are you going to fight now? Or are you going to fight later? Are you going to fight on this unconstitutional attempt to ban a firearm part that you don't care about? Or are you going to wait until they come after something that you do care about at a time when they have legal precedent to support what it is that they're doing because you just let them do it before? Ask yourselves that question. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for liking and sharing this program, letting your friends know about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. You guys take care.
We're writing that out. I'm writing that out myself. I don't care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.